If you want to change your life, there's one thing that can do it more than anything else. It's not luck. It's not talent. And it's definitely not waiting for the perfect moment. What transforms your life, what unlocks everything you've been chasing, is learning. Not someday, not next year. Every single day. Think about it, the person you want to become, they know something you don't. And the only way to close that gap is to learn what they've learned. Because the truth is, you're not stuck because you lack potential. You're stuck because you haven't accessed the knowledge that will set you free. Jim Rohn, one of the greatest voices in personal development, once said, "Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune." And he wasn't just talking about money. He meant that the path to fulfillment, to strength, to confidence, to purpose, starts when you decide to educate yourself beyond what life hands you. Jordan Peterson takes it even further. He says, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Which means, the real challenge is becoming a little wiser, a little sharper, a little more capable than the version of you from 24 hours ago. So what if today, you learned one thing that shifted everything? In the next few minutes, we're going to explore how lifelong learning can rewire your mind, reshape your confidence, and redefine what you think is possible. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is that you decide to start growing today. And if you're ready, the journey begins right now. There's a reason the most successful people in the world never stop learning. It's because they've figured out something simple. Growth isn't automatic. It's intentional. And that intention starts with a decision. A decision to make learning a daily habit. Jim Rohn taught this again and again. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. And how do you get better? You learn. Not just when school tells you to. Not just when life forces you to. You learn because you choose to. Because you know that who you become is in your hands. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Long before the fame, the movies, the politics, he was a construction worker in a new country barely speaking English. But he didn't let that stop him. He picked up books, practiced every day, surrounded himself with people who knew more. He built not just his body, but his mind. That's the power of daily learning. Or take Elon Musk. The man behind Tesla and SpaceX didn't go to school for rocket science. He learned it on his own, through books, through conversations, through obsession. He didn't wait for permission. He pursued knowledge like his life depended on it. And in some ways it did. Now think about J.K. Rowling. She was a single mother, unemployed, living off government assistance. Yet every night she studied mythology, story structure, human behavior. That wasn't just creativity. That was discipline fueled by learning. And it gave birth to one of the most powerful literary franchises of all time. And then, there's Malala Yousafzai. A young girl in Pakistan who risked her life just to go to school. Who was targeted by extremists for simply wanting an education. But even after being shot, she said, "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." That's courage. That's belief. That's what happens when you know learning is your lifeline. Jordan Peterson puts it this way. You're not everything you could be, and you know it. It sounds harsh, but it's honest. And it points us to something powerful. The gap between who you are and who you could be is filled with what you're willing to learn. You don't have to start big. You don't need a degree. You don't need to know everything. You just need to begin. With a book, a podcast, a mentor, a notebook. Because every time you learn something new, you become someone new. And the most exciting part? That version of you is waiting. But it's up to you to go meet them. Every day you're making decisions. Some small. Some huge. Some that shape your future in ways you won't even notice until years later. And here's the truth. The quality of your decisions depends on the quality of what you know. Jim Rohn said, "Success is something you attract by the person you become. And who you become is shaped by what you learn." See, knowledge isn't just about collecting facts. It's about building clarity. About training your mind to ask better questions, spot better options, and take better actions. When you invest in learning, you invest in perspective. And perspective is what gives you power. Let's look at Steve Harvey. He wasn't born with wealth or connections. He was homeless for years, sleeping in his car. But he didn't just wish for a different life, he studied. He watched, listened, learned. He understood that his next level wouldn't come by chance. It would come by change. And knowledge was the tool that opened that door. Or take Jeff Bezos. Back in the 90s, he was working a steady job on Wall Street. But then he started reading about the rise of the internet. He learned, calculated, absorbed everything he could. And based on what he knew, not just what he felt, he made one of the boldest decisions in business history. He quit, moved across the country, and started selling books online. The rest is Amazon. That's what learning does. It gives you the insight to see what others miss. It gives you the confidence to act when others hesitate. And it gives you the ability to shape your future instead of reacting to it. Jordan Peterson puts it plainly. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life. Learning is how you accept that responsibility. It's how you equip yourself to lead, to build, to overcome. Because when you know better, you do better. This is what most people miss. They think their life is limited by their past, their background, or their personality. But the real limitation is the knowledge they haven't yet gained. Every skill you lack can be learned. Every fear you carry can be dismantled with understanding. Every door that's closed can be opened, with the right information in your hands. So don't just learn for fun. Learn with purpose. Because when you level up your mind, you level up your life. Confidence doesn't come from pretending to be strong. It comes from building strength. Quietly, consistently, every single day. And the way you build it is by learning. Learning isn't just for passing tests or earning degrees. It's for life. Because the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing. And when growth stops, fulfillment fades. Think about this. How many moments in your life felt overwhelming not because you were weak, but because you simply didn't know what to do? That's not failure. That's a call to grow. Jordan Peterson says, "You're not morally obligated to be stupid." That's not an insult, it's a wake-up call. You owe it to yourself to become more capable, to learn more, to rise above confusion and chaos, not by guessing but by growing. When your mind is strong, your world changes. You stop reacting, you start responding. You stop fearing challenges, you begin solving them. Look at Serena Williams. She didn't become a legend just by swinging a racket harder. She became who she is by learning everything. Every move, every strategy, every opponent. She studied her game like a scientist. Because she knew, mental clarity is power. And then there's Stephen King. Yes, the king of horror. But what most people don't know. He reads every single day. He once said, "If you don't have the time to read, you don't have the tools to write." That's why he's not just creative, he's consistent. He doesn't rely on talent. He feeds his mind like it's a muscle. And the results speak for themselves. More than 60 bestsellers over 5 decades. Jim Rohn reminds us, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Daily learning is part of that discipline. It's how you stay sharp when life gets hard. Because it will get hard. There will be setbacks, rejections, doubts. But if your mind is trained, if your foundation is deep, you don't fall. You adapt. You think clearer. You rise faster. This is why learning must become a lifestyle. Not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. Because every time you open your mind, you expand your capacity. To love better. Lead better. Life better. So what now? You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a first step. 10 minutes of a book. 1 podcast episode. A page in a journal. And then tomorrow you do it again. Until it's not something you do, but who you are. Because when your mind grows, your life transforms. Think about who you were a year ago. Now think about how much further you could be today, if you had learned just one useful thing every single day. It's not too late. In fact, today could be the day everything changes. Because the secret to building a better life isn't locked behind luck or status, or some perfect plan. It's found in something much more powerful, and much more within reach. Bernie. Every time you learn something meaningful, your mind expands. Every time you stretch your thinking, you stretch your potential. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you become someone new. Someone better equipped. Someone more focused. Someone who doesn't just hope for more, but knows how to create it. Jordan Peterson reminds us, the purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it. Learning gives you the strength to carry that burden. It sharpens your tools, deepens your purpose, and elevates your path. Jim Rohn said, "Learning is the beginning of wealth. Learning is the beginning of health. Learning is the beginning of spirituality." Because when you choose to learn, you're choosing to rise, to break cycles, to lead yourself, and maybe one day, lead others too. So here's the invitation. Don't wait for a miracle. Make learning your daily miracle. And if this message lit something inside you, share it. If it reminded you of your own potential, like it. And if you're ready to walk this journey, subscribe, because growth loves good company. The life you dream of isn't built in a day, but it is built daily. So feed your mind, train your spirit, keep learning, because the more you learn, the more unstoppable you become. Hey, incredible growth seekers. Wow, what a journey. If this video resonated, subscribe now for more life-changing content. Join our community of self-improvers. Smash that like button to fuel more content on mindfulness, goal setting, and emotional intelligence. Share this video to create a ripple of positive change. Comment below about your growth journey. Your insights shape our content. Next week, boosting self-confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. Don't miss it. Every interaction brings us closer to a world of empowered individuals. Let's make personal development global. Stay inspired, keep growing. Your best self awaits. Let's unlock it together.